Number two, what is the second key that will preserve the move of God in South Africa, in Africa, and across the globe? Are you ready? The second key, the regular convergence of believers within that territory to be trained, equipped, and empowered. The regular convergence. You want to preserve the move of God? There must be a regular convergence of believers within a territory for the purpose of training, the purpose of equipping, the purpose of being empowered. This is why coming to church is very important. There must be a regular convergence. Listen to me. When Satan wants the purposes of God to be thwarted, something happens with the convergence of believers. The regular convergence of believers. There must never be an end to conferences, services, weekly meetings, apostolic and prophetic platforms that bring believers together, because it is God's authorized platform to train, to equip, and to empower. Please hear what I'm telling you. That means when believers begin to have the laxity to go to the house of God, it's not an attack on those believers, it's an attack on the territory. You are only receiving what you are receiving because you are converged right now in a Sunday service. Can I tell you this? I beckon on you by the mercies of God. Train your children to love the house of God. Train your children to love the house of God. Train your children to serve in the house of God. Train your children to be genuinely connected to the house of God. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God, David said. There must be a regular convergence of believers. When the gathering of the saints is affected indefinitely across any territory. Do you know, respectfully speaking, I know that world over there was a lockdown last year especially. Do you know how many believers' spiritual lives went down? Come on now. Just within a span of 3 months. Now, of course, I know that the government and the nations did their best to manage, but I'm saying that such a situation where at a global scale, almost every nation was on lockdown for 3 months. People returned back to their vomits. People who pastors were laboring to manage to stand strong had a license to go back. People's prayer lives went down. People left God. The devil used the opportunity to attack those he had been trying to attack, who were under prophetic coverings for a long time. By the time the lockdown was over, there were too many casualties already. That's right. The house of God is a place of inspiration. The house of God is a place where you will learn the word. The house of God is where you encounter the God of heaven. The house of God is God's authorized institution to mentor and build believers to become like God. Psalm 133 says, behold how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity. It says it's like the oil that comes upon the head of Aaron, down to his beard, down to his skirt. It says, for there the Lord had commanded the blessing. There must be a regular convergence. That means you must pray that anywhere in South Africa where there are no churches and meeting places that call upon the name of the Lord, you must pray that God will send laborers there. Amen. The unreached must be reached. Yes, there is always an apostle among the unreached. There is always a prophet among the unreached. There is always a kingdom financier among the unreached. You must give them a chance to know God.